What's up, everybody? Doctor Who is in a strange state. The anniversary has come and gone, and the series is set to return in just a few months. But there is turmoil in the fandom and unrest behind the scenes. What's going on? What's happened? I want to talk about Doctor Who's new rebrand. The reset to season 1, the reverting of the logo, and the overall shift that has been made over the past year. We're in the swing of it now. Rusty Davies took over Doctor Who towards the end of 2022, and considering this is his second stint in the showrunner position, fans are affectionately referring to this new era that has been established as RTD2, and it's made quite an impression. For the sake of this video, I'm going to be putting the episodes themselves aside. This isn't going to be a hit piece or a massive whine or complain or anything. I'm just going to be real, as I always am. My thoughts on the full specials and a bunch of the other stuff are already up on the channel if you want to check those out. And I'm thinking of saving my full in-depth thoughts on the whole celebration as a whole for another time, because that isn't the point I want to make here today. I don't hate David Tennant or Ncuti Gatwa or Russell T Davies. You guys know I don't. I love these guys. But I feel like I should say what I think. Honest, good faith criticism for my favourite show in the history of the world, Doctor Who. Because I do think that's good to do sometimes. Because I do think my main problems can be fixed. So let's get into them. I think we should start with a big one, which is the seasonal reset. Doctor Who 2005 is finished. It had a 13 series run over 17 years. The last episode was Power of the Doctor, and from 2023 we're starting anew. But why? Is there a logical reason for this, or is it purely arbitrary? Ironically, the giggle fits much better as an ending to Modern Who. The 60th anniversary specials are commonly called the Series 4 specials because in essence that is what they're celebrating. And it does also feel to be wrapping up a bunch of stuff character-wise, but instead of being the end, this is episode 3. Or like, in between? Is Church on Ruby Road episode 1 or episode 4 or special 4? Why would you call the first episode special 4? Many questions. I think the main one I have is why even reboot in the first place? A lot of branding and by extension marketing comes down to psychology, consumer behavior and understanding consumer behavior. Now, I'm not an economist, but I do know that if you want something to succeed, especially a TV show or movie or anything like that, you need to have demand. People should want to pick up what you're putting down. So what you need to be looking out for when making the decision on whether or not it's a good move to make a reboot is by looking at the market and seeing if there is a demand for it. Do people want a reboot for Doctor Who? Well, let's take a look. Reboots are a tricky thing. Resets even trickier. I'm sure a lot of you watching have heard of Spider-Man, most famous superhero in the entire world and no stranger to reboots. But if you think the films are crazy, wait till you see the comics. Now, everyone who reads comics knows of the practice that I like to call the issue 1 phenomena. I imagine a lot of people are already nodding their heads. Basically, it's a marketing tactic of resetting a series back to issue 1, simply because the rule of thumb is issue 1 sell more. And I saw a lot of people parroting this when it comes to Doctor Who. Issue 1 sell more, issue 1 sell more. But do they? People who analyze the sales know that the ROI, the return on investment for these resets, goes down every time they do them. Yeah, the first time you do an issue 1 it might sell well, but the second will be a little less, third even less than that, and so on. While yes, issue 1 sell more works well as a rule of thumb, it is not universally applicable, or even applicable most of the time. And there is an appeal in a TV show that's long running. A TV show with a legacy. One long, continuous story stretching across 60 years. Sometimes seeing that you're way in over your head, that there's an impossible to complete time sink of lore and canon to appreciate. Sometimes that has its benefits. I'm not going to pretend that the idea of a seasonal reset has not floated around my head before. It has, it definitely has. But if we were to read the room, look at the environment of not just Doctor Who, but the broader landscape of media in general, now is just not the time. I wonder if it would ever be the time. Let's go back to 2005 and see why there, the seasonal reset was not just the right thing to do, but absolutely necessary for the survival of the program. Let's look back to the successful reboot of Doctor Who. Oh, and before people get mad at me in the comment section saying it's not a reboot, lol. 2005 was a wild time. If you were a fan of television, this was it. Lost, Buffy, and Doctor Who. It's back. After a 16-year gap since its cancellation in the 80s, Doctor Who had returned with a vengeance, sporting a new style, new format, and 2 famous stars to boot. Christopher Eccleston drastically transformed the role into something completely unrecognizable to those of before, and Billie Piper brought in mass appeal from more casual audiences, and fans were hype. Those who had been ravenous for new content, the most loyal and starved fan base on the planet, were backing the show unreservedly.
You used to say the Radio Times, Doctor Who, an adventure in space and time. That's all it is.
Wonder if that'll be important later. But it truly was a pivotal moment. The mid-2000s were perfect for a bring back. There were dozens of shows popping up trying to be like Doctor Who. Modern audiences loved those types of shows. Doctor Who was a British institution. It was getting to the point where people were getting to be quite nostalgic for it now. And so, when it returned, it was a smash hit. People were watching telly and people were watching Doctor Who. Jump ahead 18 years in the future. Yes, you heard that right, 18. We are now further away in time from Doctor Who being brought back to Doctor Who having left in the first place. So you can imagine how the demand may have shifted. After 18 years on the air, there isn't the same clamour for a reboot. You see, this is because we already have Doctor Who. Why would we need a new one? It really isn't as simple as saying, oh well, issue 1. Fans have kept up with this show for almost 2 decades now. They've tuned in every week, year by year. Some people fell off, some people stayed on. Where we're at now with Doctor Who, I think everyone still watching deserves a reward. But what do they get? On the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who, a celebration of Doctor Who's past, they get a stab in the back. A seasonal reset. A back to square one. And why? Do you think this is gonna bring in new audiences? They're not stupid, you know. They remember that Doctor Who was on last year. The reboot was not made out of necessity. Therefore, it is doomed to fail. I talk a lot in my videos about episodes being rewarding to watch. And at this point in time, I feel like that's where Doctor Who needs to be. There are no new audiences watching TV. TV is dying and viewing figures are going down. Across the board. I saw people taking jabs at Doctor Who's rating figures on Christmas, and yeah, a couple years ago, these wouldn't have been good numbers, but it was the second highest viewed show of the day. And even the King's Speech, when all things were said and done, actually ended up getting less. Of course, the ratings discussion is very difficult. And if you want to hear me talking about it more, you can watch that video there. But my point to bring it up is less so about Doctor Who and more about the state of things in general. Numbers are down. People don't want reboots. People barely even want franchises. Last year, we saw the first MCU flop release. The Flash, Blue Beetle, flop after flop of these semi-reset blockbuster type films. You can't get away with this stuff as much anymore. If any of these films released in like the 2017-2018 time period, damn, they would have sold like hotcakes, but not so much anymore. The world has changed. And so people want stuff that hasn't. They want one long, continuous show. They want callbacks to the earlier series. They want more of Doctor Who. They want Series 14. Let me prove it to you. All of this stuff, when I say it, is just hearsay. But let's look at this for a clear example. Let's look at the views for the trailer for Season 1, released on Christmas Day 2023. Cut ahead a few weeks later. Now let's look at the views for another trailer. The trailer for the Season 15 collection box set, titled Leela vs. the Time War. Look at the difference. It's not even close. But why? How? This is a trailer for a new series, a whole new era of Doctor Who. Season 1. New Doctor, new companion, new series. Surely all the new viewers should be jumping on. And yet, a video released weeks later about a really niche topic and featuring a character that most New Who fans have never even heard of on the thumbnail outshone it far more. But why? Well, it's these 3 words right here. The Time War. This video didn't get a lot of views because it's a collection box set. And it sure as hell didn't pop off because it's Season 15. Look, I love season 15, but it's hardly a season I call a fan favorite. It got views because it's from the Time War. It's more content from the Time War, from the modern era. The modern continuity. Right now, that's what people are interested in. It's weird to say it, but it's true. People are nostalgic for Modern Who now, and that's when they kill it. Just boggles my mind. Let's look at the differences between New Who and New Who. Well, they've got the same names, same actors, same writers, same tone, same format, same style, same lighting, same directing, same story, same continuity. In fact, it literally leads right into it, directly. There's an hour gap tops between the last episode of New Who and the first episode of this other New Who. They even have the same name. They're exactly the same, except for one thing. Let's talk about it. I held out hope, cope, for the longest that Disney would not have much creative involvement in the show from now on. But here we are, months later, and I have been thoroughly proven wrong. Embarrassingly so. Disney notes inform episode decisions, they directly fund each episode, and they are the ones responsible for the seasonal reset. Doctor Who is coming to Disney Plus, and that means we start from scratch. Can't start on series 14 when going over to Disney, hahaha. I say fuck up, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Trust me, we will get into that in a second. Can I just talk about how pointless it is that we're doing this? The church on Ruby Road follows on from exactly where we left off in Power of the Doctor. We're even following the same plotline of the Timeless Child, something which was wrapped up, by the way, at the end of Flux. Russell T Davies is continuing that one intentionally because he wants to. There is no obligation there, and the show looks the same too. There is no massive leap or jump up in quality. Arguably, episodes from Series 11, like Demons of the Punjab, look better, even with the Disney money. 5-year difference, by the way. Format is still the same too. Doctor Who 2005's biggest problem has always been the 45-minute format. It is the enemy of the show. We have the perfect opportunity to change it for the better. Go back to the 4x20-minute structure that Doctor Who is literally tailor-made for. But no, for some reason, no. And so now, until we inevitably decide to reset again, we have wasted the perfect opportunity. Seriously, what the hell are we doing? New Who looks to have all of the same pros as New Who and all of the same cons. Almost like it's exactly the same show. Almost. I had enough faith in Russell T Davies to scare away these types of corporate demons, but instead he pairs up with them. To shame. Get your grubby little stinking paws off my show. Being real, all they gotta do to fix every problem with Doctor Who right now is to go up to Mickey Mouse and tell him to fuck off. Get out of my house. The phrase Disney Doctor Who puts a terrible taste in my mouth. It's two concepts which should just never go together. Disney is everything that Doctor Who is not. Corporate, soulless, and American. Everyone should be shocked and appalled, just as I am. It's interesting. I mentioned earlier about two shows that were playing in the early 2000s, Lost and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Both of these were very clearly inspirations for at least somewhat of what would become modern Doctor Who. And that's certainly for the better. Lost is an incredible show. It's amazing, groundbreaking. I recently watched it, finished it, should I say. And frequently, I found myself just stunned at how good the show is. It's amazing, it's a great show. And modern Doctor Who very clearly bit off a piece of that pie. Like it should, to be honest. Makes the show better for it. But now we look at the modern landscape now. We look at Russ T Davies and what his new influences are. The new shows around him that he's taking leaves out of. Just as he did with Lost and Buffy back then. And they're not good. He's surrounded by Disney Plus shows. Doctor Who is now a Disney Plus show. He is trying to make Doctor Who a Disney Plus show. And these are terrible. If you had to pinpoint it, WandaVision was probably the first misstep in the MCU that led to it all tumbling into the state that it is in now. The MCU Disney Plus show formula is so unsatisfying and boring to watch that it single-handedly killed the free money glitch that was the MCU pre-2020. I do not know how they fumbled that badly. Loki, WandaVision, Secret Invasion, She-Hulk. These are the shows that are now influencing Doctor Doctor Who. I did mention it in my initial review for the Star Beast, that it really reminded me of Mandalorian Series 3. I'll leave it up to you to decide on whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Russell, I am begging you, please tell them to get lost. You are meant to be our champion, our protector. Christian would never, that's all I'ma say. I have always said that the jumping on points of modern Doctor Who are a myth. That watching Out of Order is always the superior way to watch Doctor Who. People don't start with the pilot, or Woman Who Fell to Earth. I think these episodes are good, and that the soft reboot approach is nice, but it doesn't actually get people into the show. What gets people into the show is the quality. You show someone a good episode, 9 times out of 10, they're gonna stick with the show. And that is why the whole issue 1 thing is such bullshit. I know Spider-Man fans, and I know Spider-Man runs. In the comics right now, he is not doing so good. People want the feeling of an everlasting journey. I know I do. You have successful series out there like One Piece proving that we're not all crazy. And let me tell you right now, chapter 1105 of One Piece is selling way better than 99% of the issue 1s. That's a metaphor there, by the way. I don't know if you could tell. The point I'm trying to make is that sometimes people prefer feeling like they're a part of a fan community along for the ride than just that they're starting from scratch. Of course, sometimes starting from scratch has its benefits, otherwise nothing would start in the first place. But that's why I spent the whole rest of the video up to this point explaining why now is not the time to best make use of those benefits, and about how you need to observe consumer behavior and psychology, etc, etc. What am I even talking about? Oh yeah, Disney. Russell T Davies, I leave the rest to you. Do the right thing and end the partnership at season 2. Break the contract. We're all counting on you, brother. Also, please raise the damn episode count. Series 13 gets away with it because that was a COVID mini-series. Season 1, you've got no excuse. And my biggest fear is that this will turn it into feeling even more so like your typical Disney Plus show. So yeah, please raise it, man. I don't even care if the episodes are shit. Just please raise the episode count, please. And now, some of the juicy stuff. Let's get a few bonus points out there before the end of the video. No Daleks. Can you believe that? It was permeating around a few weeks ago that apparently Rusty Davies is thinking of making a new redesign for the Daleks. If you know me, you know it was quite a shock hearing that there aren't going to be any Dalek stories in the foreseeable future. Not an unpleasant shock, mind you. I understand why they did it. But for me, I must confess, the thing I was most excited for about Rusty Davies coming back was his new Dalek stories. I may be the DW fan 91, but you might as well call me the Dalek fan #1. Because oh how I do love these murderous pepper pots. And Russell T Davies' Dalek stories rank among my favourite in the modern series. The guy just gets them. He's like me, just like me for real. Every time I watch interviews with Russell T Davies, people always ask him, which one do you prefer, Daleks or Cybermen?
I have a real love of the Daleks.
Daleks every time. Daleks, it's the Daleks. The Daleks are the best. There was this interview with a kid for like Blue Peter where he turned the question back on them, you know? He asked them which one they preferred. The kid said Cyberman.
I'm a completely a Dalek man. What do you think?
I'd say Cyberman.
Would you?
I swear to God, me and Rusty Davies had the exact same expression on our faces. Pure disbelief. How the hell can somebody say that? I remember being a little kid, the Daleks were always my favorite. Since always. Hey, Rusty Davies, what's your favorite villain?
Daleks. I love Daleks.
Same. So I wanted to see more. He does them so well, man. Bro's got that Midas touch when it comes to Dalek stories. I know the guy likes writing them. I do too. But at the same time, you know what they say. Less is more. Or maybe he's pulling the wool over our eyes and it's a late season plot twist. I don't think so. Either way, when they do come back, I'm sure they'll be great. Unless he does do some shitty redesign. Come on, man. Do not let the side down this time. And the new companion too. Millie Gibson is out. I didn't look her name up in. Only a few weeks after her on-screen debut in The Church on Ruby Road, Millie Gibson is reportedly leaving the show, with her stint having already come to a close after just 1 season. She'll have 3 episodes in Series 3, with one of them specifically to wrap up any loose ends, and then she's gone, which is quite a surprise. Them filming so much in advance is a massive detriment. I don't know how things are from behind the scenes, but with the reports that Shooter Gatwa's second season might end up being his last, and we're getting the news of that before his first has even aired, like bros, we should not know this information at this time period. On a positive note, the new companion looks great. She's from Andor, the only Disney Plus show which I actually somehow do like. She's also stunning, so W casting as always Andy Pryor. I don't really have a problem with this. It is quite surprising news. I think everyone is all in agreement, but then again, that just links back to what I just said about this being one of the major cons of them having filmed so far in advance. Companions staying only one series is nothing new. Dan, for example, he's a one series companion. Yaz, though, on the other hand, stayed for a while. Clara also stayed for a while. Amy, Rory, Rose. Millie Gibson had that feeling of mainline companion, and usually, not always, but usually, mainline companions stick the course for a little longer. Ruby Sunday's likely 12 episode appearance count leaves a little to be desired, but then again, I am only saying that because we just met her. I'm fine with the change. I imagine when the series ends, I'll still be fine with the change, and I'm sure the story they have planned out for her is great too. People are saying that she got fired, or that she and Russell T Davies had a falling out. I don't think that's likely. They seemed on good terms enough in the commentary, and she's coming back for a few episodes afterwards. The production isn't as faulty as it was in 2005. I don't think this is an argument thing, at least not until I see some actual evidence. But anyways, Russell T Davies, I still love you. And that's all from me. Don't forget to hit below to subscribe, and you know what, why don't you also leave a like too, help the channel out. Thanks, boss. 92% of people who watch don't subscribe. And if you want to help support the channel, you can click the join button below to gain access to a multitude of perks and benefits, including access to the Discord server, commentaries over the latest episodes, and member exclusive videos. Thank you to the members: Just Tim, Teddy Bite, Green Goko, Idol First, Andrea Leak, Stretch, Pot Noodle OW, Sanyu, Eric is Waiting, Casual Log, Ertle the Turtle, Oz Baxter, Zach Pollock, Rouge Argentine, Architect Lehar S, Maggie132, and Nico 3DS. And with all that said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.